Sir Shekhar Garu, let's
Sir,
start, sir.
okay, thank you, sir. I wish you a happy Vinayaka Chaturthi to all the participants. A pleasant, a good morning to all of you. On behalf of the Department of English, Gmrit Institute of Technology, I, Professor H.P. Shekhar Rao, welcome you all to the concluding day of the FDP program. Every ending is always a new beginning. If winter comes, can spring far behind. We cannot choose our circumstances, but we can choose our attitude to circumstances. Our disposition can overcome whatever position we are in. We are all moving from a difficult patch of time. If we have patience and courage, nothing has stopped us the pursuit of excellence. Your active participation in the FDP is the indication that you are so resilient to achieve excellence during this pandemic. In fact, we are all have been busy with attending the webinar FDP programs for the last couple of months. We are updating our knowledge and we are learning many new things. Learning process will be continued forever and it has no end point. Your participation gives us encouragement to conduct many more programs like this in the future. Now I am very happy to introduce today's resource person, Dr. Rajendra Kumar Das, who is going to deliver his talk on plain English for impactful research communication. I request Dr. Das to open the session. Over to Dr. Das.
Thank you, sir. I am switching up the video. I'll be focusing on the talk. Thank you all the participants. The subject is plain English for impactful research communication. Plain English for impactful research communication. Actually, the phrase plain English is a misnomer. It is a misnomer in the sense it is not simple English. Plain English doesn't mean simple English. Many people have a very wrong understanding of the term plain English. Plain English is not simple English. As Einstein says, make things simple, but don't make simpler. So it is not simpler English. On the other hand, it is a different way of presenting your English to make maximum readability and create the impact you want to create through your research. So in the research communication, plain English is the order of the day. And that's why I am going to explain my understanding of plain English to you. I have taken from very authentic sources and I hope this will be very helpful to you, each one of you. So this is plain English and the purpose of using plain English in our research papers is for creating the kind of impact that you want to create through our research communication. Now, look at this gentleman, George Orwell. George Orwell, a famous author who is much relevant today, he said, if people cannot write well, they cannot think well. And if they cannot think well, others will do their thinking for them. So any research, any kind of thing, actually without writing it is not possible. And writing is not possible without thinking. So how we think? We can have very logical thinking, plain thinking. We can have critical thinking. We can have lateral thinking and all the kinds of thinking. For example, engineers, they will have a design thinking. So all kinds of thinking should be there, and the writing is nothing but a manifestation of a phenomenon which presents our thinking. So as a researcher, how we think and why we think, all the kinds of things will be available in our research paper. So please keep this in mind that if we can't write well, it means that we cannot think well. And actually those people who can't think well, they can't write well. So we need to know how to write well, and before that we should know how to think well. So when we go for writing any research paper, we have to think. Our thinking must go into writing. So that is what I am going to explain today. It is a very interesting thing, what I call food for thought for every research writer. Once a friend of Samuel Johnson of the 18th century, the famous critic, showed him a manuscript and pestered him with the request that you give your comments. So Dr. Johnson, he went through the manuscript and then he said, it is very good that you have written this. Your manuscript is both good and original, but the part that is good is not original, and the part that is original is not good. Look at this. The issue of originality I have already handled during my session on plagiarism. Originality. Second thing is, which part is not original, it's not good. Good writing should be there. Writing should be original and the writing should be good. And we have to follow the research convention for this purpose. So our manuscript or our research paper should be both good and original should be good and the good part should be original. So that is minimum requirement. We can say it is an ideal rather than it is required. Now, find out how an editor and for that matter even reviewers, what trouble they find with research writing. This is a complaint from an editor. The editor says that related to one research paper, he gave the comment like this: this paper fell well below my threshold. I refuse to spend time trying to understand what the author is trying to say. Means it was ambiguous, clarity was not there, and the editor did not understand what the researcher wanted to communicate. Besides, I really want to send a message that authors can't submit a substandard paper to us and expect us to fix it. So substandard writing is the cause of rejection of maximum number of research papers. And the editor says, my rule of thumb is that if there are more than 6 grammatical errors in the abstract, then I don't waste my time carefully reading the rest of the paper. So there should be 0 grammatical errors. Before we submit one research paper, we have to fix the grammar errors. Luckily, the Grammarly software, many software are available which can help us in spotting the errors. Then they will suggest also, but they are not always correct. So we have to take the help of human beings. We ourselves, we need to fix, and we have to take the help of some well-meaning persons, our well-wishers, mentors, who have good English communication skills. And particularly they must be good in writing, that you can show them, they can help you fix the errors. So never submit a substandard one. Your research may be fantastic, but if your writing is not as good as your research, then you should not expect a journal to respect your, to consider your writing. So editors and reviewers, they have this kind of mindset, and we need to write. Actually, I am going to give you all required things to write the research paper, submit it. Look at the general structure of a research article. You can simply remember the main part of a research article is called IMRAD. Introduction, I for introduction, M for methods, R AD stands for results and discussion. IMRAD, that is the main text. Before the main text comes the title of the research paper, then the abstract of the research paper, then the keywords of the research paper, then comes the introduction, then comes the methods or material section, then comes the results and discussion, then comes the conclusion, and after the conclusion, acknowledgement if somebody has sponsored, paid the money, or helped in any way, you can acknowledge the person or an organization after the conclusion only. Then you give the references, then supplementary data. Supplementary data is nothing, any questionnaire in appendix, whatever you want to put it, that can't go in the body of the research paper, that is called supplementary data. That is extra data. So this is the general structure of a Scopus research article. So I am taking all these sources from Scopus. So it is authentic, taken from the Scopus database. So this is the general structure of a research article. Now coming to academic writing. Our academic and research writing is always clear, concise, focused kind of writing, structured. There is a structure and it is backed up by evidence. Evidence is nothing but who said what, how did somebody came to the conclusion. That is your citation and a reference. So academic writing is planned and focused, structured, it is coherent, it has a logical order, it is giving evidence, subject area, experts, opinions and arguments. Evidence is given for accuracy, and it is always formal in tone and style. Informal tone and a casual style will not appeal to any editor or reviewer to consider our research article. So formal tone and style is required. Evidence for our arguments, our opinions, views should be given. It must be a structured one, coherent one, and you know the structure of a research article. Simply keep in mind Gmrit. I is introduction, M is methods, R is result, A is and, D is a discussion, then conclusion follows. So this is the academic writing. Many of you must be aware of the 7 C's of communication, but this is different. Here I am giving you the 7 C's of effective research communication, not general communication, research communication. And the 7 C's of research communication are, first of all, competence. Your research paper should show competence, your competence as a researcher. That means from concept level to the organization or structure level to the real execution of your plan, that you should be able to show that in the research paper. If any reviewer or editor feels that you are not competent enough as a researcher, then they will ask you to revise your research paper, or they may simply reject it in the very first place. And another important factor, all these are important, and there is nothing first or last, all are important. Clarity. Clarity means if there is, the writing is clear, it will make people understand you well. It makes comprehension easier and gives high readability to your text or a research paper, and it is compulsory that you write clearly. Clarity must be there. Clarity is the absence of ambiguity. Competence is the absence of casualness. Then we come to conciseness. You speak less, say more. Means when you write, writing should be very concise, but the meaning should be not only clear, but you are doing more, getting more with less. So concise writing saves time, energy, and money. It saves time because you don't have to spend more time. It saves your energy because you are not unnecessarily writing, then cutting short. That is not required. From the beginning, try to write concisely. And if you spend your time and energy, they are nothing but you are spending unnecessarily your money. So conciseness saves you time, energy, and your money. Concept mapping. Concept mapping is not in the general sense, which was invented by Joseph de Noval. Concept mapping means what are your concepts, your ideas. If you can give a visual design to your concept, then, for example, using tables, graphs, charts, pictures, okay, histograms like that, your data, your information, if you can put it in that way, that concept mapping will be very useful and helpful for readability, and everybody will like it. Concreteness. Concreteness means concreteness is the opposite of vagueness. If you are concrete, you mean it. For example, thousands of people died in the flood. Thousands means how many thousands? So it is not clear. You have to be concrete. You can say that more than 1000, then it is becoming a little bit concrete. If you say 1047 people died in the flood, then you are purely concrete. Concreteness should be there. So concreteness helps in reinforcing the ABC of writing. A stands for accuracy, B stands for brevity, C stands for clarity. Your research paper, and for that matter, all your paragraphs need to be accurate, brief, and clear. So that is called concreteness. Consistency. Consistency of your tone and style. If there is no consistency in a tone and style, people will doubt that you have plagiarized the content and that you are not doing a good research. So that kind of doubt will come. So be consistent in your tone and style. It will enhance your credibility as a researcher. It will attest your competence as a researcher, and it will lend readability, great readability of your work. So you have to be consistent in a tone and style. Customization. Customization is as per your journal you have chosen. So accordingly, you can integrate your information, formulate and format your information in such a way that the reader will get what they want, the reviewer gets what they may expect from you, and the editor gets the right kind of article. So customization is nothing but to follow the rules and regulations of the journal and giving the reader, reviewer, and editor, all the people what they want. So in one research paper, everybody will get what they deserve. A reader will get high readability, new information, novelty, novel ideas, and support for his own research. A reviewer will find that is you have taken care of all aspects and you are sticking to the guideline that you have done a very genuine research. Editor will find that is this research article is contributing to my journal. It is an asset for my journal. So that is called customization. So please keep in mind, if you have taken care of these 7 C's of research communication, no journal worth the name can reject your paper, and you need not bother to pay even a single pie to any journal. Yesterday, some people were asking, should we pay and publish? No, if you are knowing how to do the research, give some more time on learning the things, and then you don't have to pay a single pie to anybody to publish your research. Not necessary at all. But sometimes what happens, we don't stick to the rules of the book, and then we write. Then somebody tells, you pay me, I'll publish your book, I'll publish your research article. Then in that case, we are desperate. We are desperate because our work is not that genuine, or we don't have time. We think the sooner it is published, the better. Please don't go for that kind of thing. It will not help. Rather, learn. All the resource persons, they will be always supportive to you, and you can write to us also. Our commitment is not for these 7 days, for the rest of life. Whenever you feel any requirement, kindly ping us or send an email. We will try to our level best to help you out. So this kind of assurance I can give to all our budding researchers, even senior researchers who are doing, we can help you also in some manner. Consider how we can help you, and I give you the assurance that we'll definitely be very happy to see you very successful, impactful researcher. Those who are interested in publishing in Scopus, I request them to create an ORCID ID if they have not already created. Next level. What is plain English? Plain English is a language for all. All I mean the public in general, the readers of our article, the editor, the reviewer, and the research community in general, and people who are specialists or working on in that area, they. So it is a language for all. What is plain English? Plain English is nothing but a written communication in plain language in its wording, structure, and a design. Please take into consideration the three aspects. Many people have a very wrong idea. When they think English means they think only linguistic aspect, language. No, plain English takes into consideration wording of the text, research paper, which words, paragraphs you have used, the structure of the paper, how you have structured your article, and a design also, design of the article. I'll explain all these things, how to do in a very neat manner, useful manner. The Plain Writing Act of 2010 in the USA or America defines plain language as writing that is clear, concise, and well organized, that must be visible and follows other best practices appropriate to the subject or field and intended audience. Who is your target reader? Plain English is a style of writing that enables the reader to understand the message the first time they read it. They should not read it 100 times to understand. They should understand the message even only once they read. This is a big challenge, and plain English helps us. And I'll tell you how to do this. It uses, plain English means use of short, clear sentences and everyday words without unnecessary jargon. Plain language is writing designed to ensure the reader understands as quickly, easily, and completely as possible. Plain English is people-oriented, goal-oriented, and process-oriented. It always keeps the reader in mind, whoever may be the reader. The reader may be general reader, the reader may be the editor, the reader may be the reviewer. Plain English keeps everybody in mind, and it is goal-oriented. What is the goal? Your goal is to communicate your research, that everybody should benefit from this. So it is a goal-oriented and process-oriented. It follows a process. Without process, you can't achieve your goal. And without achieving your goal, you can't help people. So plain English is always people-oriented, goal-oriented, and process-oriented. Then plain English, it is easier for your reader to read and easier for you to write. So it saves you time, it saves your energy, it saves you your money also. You don't have to pay to anyone. If you learn plain English, then slowly and steadily, with a little bit support in the initial stage, you can always write. So this is the beauty of plain English. Plain English is already a movement for a long time in the USA, Australia, where English is the first language. They are making plain English or plain language as a kind of movement that everybody should follow. Oxford University has published many books, and I'll be sharing the books with you. You will find that it is so easy to go for plain English. Difficult English, because we don't know plain English, we are writing sometimes plain English, sometimes difficult English. But plain English, if you learn how to write, you will find you will really enjoy your writing. Writing should be clear, concise, well organized, and easy to read, easy to understand. And in the very fast reading, it should be understood. Plain English takes care of the style, organization, and layout. So limit each paragraph to one idea and keep the paragraph short. Use short sentences as much as possible. Omit unnecessary or unneeded words. I have cut down or unneeded because in this sentence, if I say omit unnecessary words, it means unnecessary means unneeded. So or unneeded, it's not necessary. Therefore, I have got it. So if I say omit unnecessary or unneeded words, it is not plain English. But if I say omit unnecessary words, it is plain English. Or if I say omit unneeded words, it is also plain English. Keep the subject and verb in the sentence close together and follow easy to follow design features like lists, headers, tables, pictures, diagrams, charts, all these things, they make the design better and they help the reader to read better and understand, read faster and understand better. With the fast reading itself, most of the things will be clear and maybe 100% may be clear. Use images to make content easier to understand. Images are nothing but your tables, graphs, charts, diagrams, etc. Omit unnecessary detail. If you give too much detail, it will be a problem. Now I am explaining, therefore I am giving you the detail. But in the research paper, if you give too much detail, then it will be very lengthy, which is not required. Boil down the information to what your reader needs to know. Use examples as needed to help explain the text. If you think you need to give examples at times, give example. There is no problem in that. Put the central action in strong verbs. What happened? Put in strong verbs. Don't use nominals or abstract nouns to give the information. Use verbs, powerful verbs. I'll give you some powerful list of powerful verbs to use in different sections. In your introduction, in the body, in the conclusion, like that I'll give you. And I'll be sharing this PPT with you, but I want you to understand this first. Then use the material. Use transition points or a transition words or connectives to connect different ideas from sentence to sentence, from paragraph to paragraph, or from one section to another section. Use the transitions. Most important part is visual design of your research paper. Visual design aims to improve a design's or product's aesthetic appeal. It should look beautiful. It should be usable with suitable images. They are nothing but figures, tables, graphs, charts, etc. Typography. Typography is the right kind of font you should use, whether you should use Times Roman, serif, whatever, that look at what the journal wants, accordingly you give. And when you have option, then at that time you can choose your own way, but always read some articles, some papers of that journal before you submit to that journal. See that you are following those guidelines, those examples. Spacing also. Spacing is your spacing should be. It should not look cluttered. Your research paper should have right spacing between means the writing and the white space, and how much gap you should give. All these things. Layout of your research paper and color, which color you will use when, and always follow the journal guideline. Many people, they write the article first, then they send to journals. No, when you start writing, find out which journal will be best. I have already told you, go for the name of the research article. You can change later, no problem. Title of the article and abstract. If you give in journal finder, Elsevier journal finder, you can put it. It will suggest you and give the area, the field of research. Then it will show you which journals are the best journals to publish in. And accordingly, read some articles of that journal. Always, even a paid journal means you have to pay for the articles. Some sample free copies are available. You download and you read. Read, and then you can lead. If you are not reading, you can't lead. You can't have impactful research. So figures and tables, they are called display items. They are the quickest way to communicate large amounts of complex information that would be complicated to explain in text. So what we can't, we'll have difficulty in the text when we give tables, charts, diagrams, etc. It will be very easy for people to understand. And you can make a brief explanation after the table or chart. No problem in that. Always take care that you give a professional appearance. Plain design, plain language, plain English asks you. Plain English is not only English. Plain English is the style, the structure, the organization, the visual design, everything comes under plain English. Please keep this in mind. Plain English is not only English. Plain English is English plus organization, style, appearance, visual design, all these things. Readers will assume that a professional looking manuscript contains good quality science. If your paper looks good, looks professional, then it creates the very first positive impression. Thus, readers may be more likely to trust your results. Okay, they will think that definitely you must have done a good thing, and your interpretation of the results they will also believe. And once they believe that, yes, here is something for me, then your work becomes easier. You will be able to create the impact that you want or intend to achieve. So now let's be Scopus. Let's publish in Scopus. It is my coinage. Let's be Scopus. Very jokingly, I use this word. Let's be Scopus means let us focus on Scopus. Let us write for Scopus. Let us be published in Scopus. So let's be Scopus. I'll be very happy if you like this word, and you can also use in a very friendly manner to with your friends. You can say, let's be Scopus. So let's be Scopus. So there are different types of Scopus articles. Original research, they are known as a research article or simply research or simply article. Short reports or letters written to editors, that is a kind of communication. They are also sometimes called brief communications. They are very brief, very short. Review articles are generally long articles. Many people think writing review articles are easy. No, review articles you should have approximately. I am telling you what Scopus says. Reviews commonly cite approximately 100 primary research articles. It's very difficult. Review is rather difficult than writing an original research article. Okay, but review articles are the most cited articles. People cite it. If you write a review article, you will be the most cited author within a year. Case studies are examples of some phenomenon happening, and that is called case study. Methodology papers or methods papers, they are simply concentration on a particular method, experimental method or procedure, and they present new methods or new procedures. So there are different kinds of Scopus journal articles. In general, we can say we will be using the word manuscript better called manuscript. Short form is MS, M capital, S capital, MS stands for manuscript. The general structure of a full article I have already shown you. So first of all, take care of your title, name of the author, means your names, abstract and keywords. Make them easy for indexing and searching. Scopus is an indexing service, and people who will be searching, they will be searching with the keywords. If you have the right keywords, they will find your article to read and cite you. Main text, remember the formula, Gmrit. I for introduction, M for methods, R for results, A for and, D for discussions, and conclusion will follow. Acknowledgements, references, and supplementary material. And everything has its own importance and own function. They must not be confused. What should be the length of a full article? It is very, very essential. 20 to 25 to 30 pages is an ideal length for a submitted manuscript, including essential data only. Title page, that is one page, very less title will be there, author's name will be there. Abstract should be only one paragraph, and the number of words as per the journal's requirement. If there is no specific numbering of words, then you can go to the previous publication of other articles in the journal. Introduction, it can be basically 1.5 to 2 manuscript pages, double-spaced, 12-point font. Methods, 2 to 4 manuscript pages. Results and discussion, 10 to 12 manuscript pages. So you find out method is 2 to 4 manuscript pages, whereas results and discussion, they may take up to minimum 10 pages and maximum 12 pages. Sometimes it depends, you can vary, but this is an ideal length. Conclusion should not be more than 2 pages in any situation. If you can confine it to 1 page, it is very good. Maximum 2 pages, 1 to 2 manuscript pages. Manuscript page is different from a journal page. Journal page is you don't give gap. Manuscript is you give gap. Double spaced. Manuscript page means double space and 12-point font. So manuscript page, that is called manuscript page. Figures, you can keep 6 to 8 figures. Don't give more. Tables, 1 to 3 tables. Sometimes you find in thesis, people give hundreds of tables, hundreds of figures. That is not really ideal, but thesis is not a research paper. But you should consider a thesis as a compilation of several research papers. If you go that way, it will be very ideal for you and you will be able to create the right impact. References, 20 to 50 items should be referenced. Don't go for hundreds, not necessary. Don't go for very less number. That means you have not, if your reference is very short, it means you have not done proper literature review. Review of literature is very important in any research paper, and you should do. And in the review papers, reference list will be more. Definitely. Letters or short communications have a stricter limitations of the length. For example, 3,000 words with no more than 5 illustrations. Illustrations are tables, pictures or tables, figures, etc. They are called illustrations. Visual design. Visual design, I have already told you. Figures and tables, etc. They should be put, they elaborate, okay, method. They help you to present your method, algorithm, information. It makes the study more vivid and helps the reader understand the work in a better way. Why language matters? Ultimately, if your language is poor, then making your manuscript, it will make your manuscript unclear. So we should know what are the problems, how to come. Suppose you have idea, but you are not finding the right word. There is a kind of dictionary which is called a reverse dictionary. Reader's Digest, a very famous publishing house, it has published, Reader's Digest has published a reverse dictionary. Means you don't have the word. General dictionary, we have the word, meaning we are getting. But in a reverse dictionary, you have the meaning in your mind, but you don't know the exact word. Reverse dictionary helps you. It is a Reader's Digest, free of cost, available on the website, you can download. It helps you to get, you have the concept, but you don't have the right word to use, reverse dictionary will help you. Now coming to, people say Indianisms, but do you think Indianisms? No, they are universal problems of language, not Indians commit alone. Universally, this is the problem. For example, somebody says, I centered the information. Sent is past participle. Centered is wrong. I teached, teach, taught, taught. If you say teached, it is wrong. I knows, it should be I know. He is more better than you know. He is better than you. More better is wrong. More clearer is wrong. I cannot cope up with the problem. It is cope with, not cope up with. Let us discuss about this issue. Let us discuss this issue, not discuss about this issue. I can't hardly believe what she said. I can't believe what she said, or I hardly believe what she said. If you say can't hardly, it is called a double negative, and avoid double negatives. Which English, formal or informal? Academic writing uses formal language. Research writing uses formal language. So informal English and formal English, I have a huge list. Okay. Informal English writing is spontaneous, but formal English will be planned and organized. Informal English is conversational in tone, but formal English uses hedging. Hedging I will explain. Shorter sentences is used in formal, but generally longer sentence compared to, for example, you say in informal English is, but in formal English is, I have done it. But in informal English, you simply say is, no, like that. Contraction and abbreviations are used in informal English, but in formal English, in a research, you should use full words and expressions. In informal English, minor sentence means without subject verb you can use, but complete sentence to be used in a research English. Informal English is doing round and round. Precise expression is needed in research writing. Verbosity is there in informal English. Conciseness is there in research writing. Colloquial or vague expression may be allowed in informal English, but concrete expression to be there in no colloquial is used in. Colloquial means everyday spoken English language should not be used. Informal English may use sexist language, but non-sexist language is compulsory for research writing. No accountability may be there, but it is evidential. You must give evidence. Who said, when. Free word choice is there in informal English, but register-based and jargon may be used in research writing. Opinionated, what you feel you can say, but in research writing, you must be factual, you must be logical, you must be coherent, you can't be casual. You may have liberty with grammar or mixing of formal and informal kind of thing, or giving exclamation, even in informal English, but in formal English, research, you have to be coherent, you have to be grammatical, you have to be only formal, and no exclamation marks to be used unless you are quoting somebody. Hyperbolic means extra. Millions of people liked this research. No, you have to moderate this, say what is the number. You can be suggestive in informal English, but you must be very clear and explicit in your research writing. Ellipsis you can use in informal English, but no ellipsis is to be used in research writing. First person point of view is usually used in informal English, but in research writing, most of the times you have to use third person, not first person. First person is only when you have done experiment. There also you have to be very careful looking at the convention of that journal, whether you should use first person or you should be very neutral and objective, should use passive voice and third person. No register is required for informal English, but in research English, register is used. Register means the kind of vocabulary which is, for example, you are writing about yoga, then yoga vocabulary has to be used. You are writing about computer science, algorithms, so that kind of language you have to use. So that is called a register. So formal and informal, because paucity of time, I am skipping this. You will have it. For example, formal English is a demonstrate, and informal English, neutral English will be so. So like this, you can have a list. Formal dress, informal dress, you can look formal shoe, informal shoe, you can see this is the difference. So you have to use formal words, formal expressions, formal style, tone and style. Which English, formal or informal? You have to always use formal. You should be always, for example, here formal and informal. So I am skipping this part because of lack of time. I am waiting for our professor, Dr. Saswat Das of IIT Kharagpur. He may be joining anytime. And once he joins, I'll hand over the session to Professor Sashwat Das, and he will take care. So, formal language, some examples are there. It will be available to you. So, look at these sentences. These are mistakes. After reading the original study, the article remains unconvincing. After reading the original study, the article remains unconvincing. Many people will find there is no grammatical error, but actually it should be like this. After reading the original study, I find the article unconvincing. It is called a dangling modifier. A modifier having no subject. So you have to put in the subject. So dangling modifier, I have explained it here, and I'm moving out with this. Ambiguity is where clarity is not there. Your sentence can be unclear and confusing. It can be understood in more than one way. You must avoid this kind of writing. For example, talking quickly annoys people. So what do you mean? Do you want to say talking, or you are focusing on quickly? So this kind of thing you have to avoid. This is called lexical ambiguity. You have to avoid. Semantic ambiguity is meaning ambiguity. For example, the chicken is ready to eat. Means you can eat the chicken anytime. That you mean, or the chicken is hungry and now it wants to eat. So this sentence is giving ambiguity. So this kind of sentence, it is a very general sentence, but in the research writing, you have to attack your sentence. Is the sentence giving clarity? If clarity is not there, rewrite the sentence till you achieve clarity. No ambiguity, no place for ambiguity in the research writing. Redundancy is means extra, unnecessary. You have to avoid. For example, if you say writing is one of the 4 basic language skills, then you need not say the other 3 are listening, speaking, reading, and okay, listening, speaking, reading, because 4 language skills are listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Everybody knows. Why should you tell that? So don't state the obvious. Don't be redundant. And this book, all of you, those who have not read, please read this book. William Strong and E.B. White's book, The Elements of Style. You can download the PDF from the internet. Free of cost available. Very short book, and easily you can remember. Redundancy. Redundancy is the repetition of a word, idea, etc. Now the most important thing is American English or British English. Look at the journal. If the journal is using American English, use American English. Convert all the British English into American English. And if the journal is using British English, use British English. As per the journal style, you use. Don't mix both American and British English. They are way different. They are totally different. So check the what journal wants, be consistent, find out spelling American English and British English. A lot of things are there, and go for the spelling. I am very happy. Our professor Sashwat Das, our esteemed research person of the day, he has joined, and I welcome sir. I'll take just 5 minutes to finish this and hand over to sir. So we have to take care of the spelling, and these are the different words, what the Americans use, what the British use. We need to be careful about that. The list will be available to you. I'll be sending you. So take care of the date. American date of writing is different, and British way of is different. So be very clear, no ambiguity. Don't give anybody any chance to interpret according to what they mean. No, what you mean, everybody should be able to see that. And it is your responsibility, not the reader's responsibility. To be very careful about register and keywords. Use the register. Register, I have told you that particular the vocabulary and all the things of a particular field, and you have to be careful. Keywords, very careful search should be there. How to give keywords, it is there. I'll be sharing with you. Avoid whistle words. Whistle words are, they are very equivocate. they appear very important, but actually they are not doing much. For example, if you say a growing body of evidence, which body of evidence? Why don't you give the names? So avoid the whistle expressions. Very interesting part that you can learn. Collocation. Collocation is the habitual juxtaposition of one word with another word. You say natural English uses, we say fast train. We don't say quick train. We say fast food. We don't say quick food. We say quick shower. We don't say fast shower. We say quick breakfast. We don't say fast breakfast. So this is called collocation, and a lot of materials you will have. Types of collocations, list is there. And these are the collocations. Which verb should take which word? Noun, like this. And thousands of collocations are there. And if you take care of all these, then your writing will be really impactful. They will be plain English you will be using. Plain English is not simple English. Plain English is not simple English. For example, our Professor Sasudas, he tries that he should use plain English that everybody should understand. But he speaks in such an impactful way that everybody bows down to him. People take him as a model. So you will be listening to him. I am not praising him. It is just a fact I am sharing with you. Avoid negatives in your paper if you can. If you can avoid negative words, use positive words, it will create the right impact in your writing. And I have given some examples how you have to substitute the negative words with the positive words, use the positive words. And negative language, positive alternatives, positive connotation, negative connotation, how to use. Subject verb agreement, one formula is there. And with this, I'll stop because I think sir will actually can give much better than what I'm giving you. Besides, this will be there. Remember a formula. When you are using subject verb agreement, keep this in mind. Wait first, non last. W stands for with, A stands for as well as, I stands for in addition to, T stands for together with. If in a sentence it appears that you have two subjects, then in the sentence you have with, as well as, in addition to, together with. Then what is the first one you take? For example, the teacher with all the students has or have. Here with, it means the teacher is the subject, students is not the subject. So you say the teacher with all the students has approached the police. Okay, but if you say, here is a mistake, the students, if you say the students as well as the committee members. Okay, second sentence, the student as well as the committee members, then the first one, student is the subject because as well as is there, use is. But if we change the sentence, the committee members as well as the student, then the meaning doesn't change, but grammar is changed. Because committee members comes first, you have to use are. But student comes first, you have to use is. Non stands for not only but also, O stands for or, N stands for neither nor, E stands for either or. If they are there, take the last one as the subject. I have explained all the things. I'll be sharing the slide with you. Avoid run-on sentences. Active voice or passive voice. You have to use passive voice most of the times. And coherence, how to achieve coherence. And what are the phrases to use for agreement, addition, or similarity. And cause effect, what words you should use for giving examples or supporting, emphasizing, and a lot of things are there. Sentence length, layout, writing the introduction, what phrases you should do, and all these things are there for you. So a lot of information. Actually, I created so many things because many of you wanted that I should share the material with you. For that purpose, such a long PPT I created, and because the purpose was to share with you. You can read in leisure, and wherever problem, you can always come back to us, and we'll be clarifying you. Thank you all. Now I'll request Professor S.P. Sekhar Rao to introduce the guest of our honorable guest and our research person, the most dynamic Professor Dr. Saswat Somaya Das, which means eternal time. Sekhar sir,
Okay, sir.
over to you.
Okay. Thank you for your nice presentation, Dr. Das.
Thank you, sir. I like Saswat sir just to make his video on. He can switch up later so that we can find out that he is ready.
Can I start? Can I start, or I will wait for some time?
Sekhar sir, can you wait for a while?
Just a second.
Rajendra sir, can you please identify Saswat sir's ID here? Display name.
Sir, find out with S. Saswat Das. Sir, you go to the end.
With that name, any of these terms not available, sir? Any particular name? Can you please ask him, sir?
Just a second. Sir has already given me message, so I'll be talking to him right now.
The display name, the display term. I'm unable to find because.
Just a second,
yes.
Sir. Nothing to worry. Dear participants, please hold your breath, and very soon you will be listening to Dr. Saswat Das. Vachalam sir.
Sir, please.
Have you found out? Sir is there.
No,
Okay, it is connected.
with the number.
I'm talking to him.
Just ask him that label displayed, sir, for his name.
Sir, very good morning, sir. Sir, have you joined the Zoom, sir? Sir, it will be showing, sir. Sir, by formal, yes, sir. Kindly, sir, switch on the video one. And sir, what is the name it is showing on the top of your screen? The name will be there. Your name is there. It is not showing, sir. Okay, can you, sir, switch on the video, sir? Yes, sir.
Sir. Gigabyte. Yes, is it gigabyte, sir?
Yeah.
Yes, we got it, sir.
Thank you, sir, for being with us. It is an honor to have you. But for formality's sake, you please excuse me. I am handing over to Dr. S.P. Sekhar Rao, our colleague, faculty member of Gmrit, to just give a brief introduction, because I want Professor S.P. Rao to give a very brief introduction. Otherwise, it will take more than 1 hour to introduce our guest. His profile.
Rajendra, you have already given a very grand, embarrassing introduction of mine. So I don't need any more.
Over to Professor Sekhar Rao. Sir,
Good morning. So I have a great pleasure of introducing today's resource person, who is a highly respected personality among teaching fraternity, is a scholar, writer, literary critic. The speaker and a pleasing personality is none other than Dr. Saswat Somaya Das. Dr. Das is an associate professor in the Department of Humanities and Social Sciences, IIT Kharagpur. Professor Das joined as a faculty at IIT Kharagpur in 2003. He has been shouldering several responsibilities, including teaching, research, administration works. Dr. Das is a voracious reader, an active researcher. He carries out research in critical theory, postmodern, post-colonial studies, and continental thinking and philosophy, with a special emphasis on Deleuze and Zizek and Negre and Badiou and Derrida and Nancy. Professor Das has authored and reviewed many books. His books and research monographs were published by reputed international publishing house. He is currently editing 2 books, Deleuze and Global Terror and deluge and global pandemics for the Edinburgh University Press. He is also editing a book, Biopolitical Technology and Networked Urbanity and Through Beyond Pandemical Times for the Palgrave Macmillan. Besides being an erudite scholar, a teacher par excellence, Dr. Das is a translator too. The Dark Sanctum award-winning Oriya poetry was translated by him, which got Sahitya Academy Award in New Delhi 2003. Professor Das is invited by different universities, has been a visiting faculty to many universities in India and abroad. We are very fortunate to have a resource person like Professor Das, and who is going to deliver a talk on futurizing English studies, the creative violence of research writing. I am sure all the participants will enjoy your talk. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to introduce Professor Das. I request you to open the session. Over to Dr. S.S. Das. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for such a grand introduction.
Thank you, sir.
I think my introduction has displaced me and transformed me in many ways, in multiple ways. Yes. Am I audible to all of you?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Am I audible to all of you?
Yeah. Yes, sir. You are audible. Please, sir.
Okay. Fine. So Professor Rajendra has already given a very grand introduction of mine, very embarrassing, I would say, but he just went on talking about me so much. But what I had this occasion of hearing his talk for some time, and I had a feeling that what he was trying to do was he was giving you an exercise in empiricism. He was giving you an exercise in what we call logical empiricism, right? And he was viewing language or treating language as an actuality, as an object that can be mastered, that you can master, and then you can sort of possess and master, and even consume, right? Okay, so his idea of language was very empiricist, but I'm not going to give you an exercise in empiricism that I think professors or academics who spoke before me have already done that. So I'm not going to give you an exercise in empiricism. I'm going to sort of, make you aware of certain concepts, and that you need to master, that you need to sort of be familiar in order to attempt a revolutionary breakthrough research. So I have a feeling that the entire domain of research in social science depends on a large extent on concepts, on notions and words and terminologies that are pretty unjust and pretty unkind, and while belonging to that that humanist tradition. So what are these concepts basically? The concepts of the entire, I feel the research in social sciences is entirely based on those concepts, by marshalling those concepts, so it works with these concepts, and it's reluctant to a large extent to see beyond this concept. This is beyond these concepts. What are these concepts? Now, for instance, we were in our research in social sciences, we keep on harping on notions in terms like identity, right? Presence, voice, lenses, experience, positionality, subjectivity, objectivity, rationality, consciousness. These are the terminologies that we use. And these are not only unjust and unkind, they are unsmart terminologies. Okay, the unsmart heuristic devices. Right. Okay, so if you use these concepts and these terminologies, what you're going to come up with is unsmart research, unjust, unkind research. You're not being kind to the world. You're not being kind to the to the ecology, to humanity, I would say. Okay, all right. So why these terminologies and devices that we use in social sciences research are so unkind, are so unjust? Let's start with that question. What's wrong with a concept like identity? What's wrong with a concept like identity? Any idea? Anyone who can tell me what's wrong with the concept of identity? We use it so frequently, so commonly in all the research papers that we write, identity. What I think that identity happens to be a political construct, a social construct. Okay, you don't have any given identity as such, but you latch on to it. You'll be using, you'll be looking at the entire field of research from an identitarian lens, right? Okay, then we have presence. What is wrong with presence? Are you always present? I don't think you're always present. A part of you is absent. A part of you is scattered. You are a divided self. Scattered self, not divided into two. That would make you schizophrenic. I'm not talking about a schizophrenic entity. I'm talking in terms of multiplicity. You're divided and scattered in multiple worlds, right? Okay, but when you use these terms very confidently, like identity and presence, okay, these are unsmart terminologies, unsmart metaphors. Okay, they don't do justice to the world, to the beyond, and to the humanity, to the world. So we're living in a completely different world and completely different circumstances where these kind of terminologies and these kind of words, metaphors have become almost, I would say an exercise in wrongdoing, exercise in evil, right? Okay. So for instance, subjectively, do you have, is there a distinct subject position? Do you have anything called subjectivity? So these things have to be thought about. That all these terminologies that we use, like identity, presence, voice, lenses, voice. Can you say that I speak with my own voice all the time? That's my voice. I'm the owner of my voice. You can never say that you happen to be the owner of your voice. Your voice is also scattered, like your identity is scattered. Your voice is also scattered. The multiple personalities speaking through you, okay? We talk about plurivocality or multivocality, where the voice, happens to be scattered, divided, multiplied. So you don't have, there's no notion of singularity or presence or self. So, all these concepts that we use in social sciences have become problematic. They have become problematic. And we ought to know that. But we don't know it. We don't know it. That's the problem. Now, what kind of model of research do we follow? See, first of all, what happens, we locate a social problem. Have you ever asked, how do you arrive at the social problem? How do you locate? How do you identify a social problem? There is a social problem. There's something that tickles you, something that bothers you, something that destabilizes you. Okay, all right. Something that you're bothered with. You call it a social problem, right? And then, how do you sort of attend to this social problem? You have a research question. All right, you have a research question, and the research question is followed by methodology. You have a methodology. And then what do you have? You have solutions. Then you tell me social problem, and then you have solutions. Now look at this. Okay. Look at this. This is a kind of a structure that we call arboreal structure, right? There's a horizontality about it. There's a verticality about it. The horizontality and the verticality is a problem, right? Okay. The research question always ends up reflecting the social problem. Then we have a methodology, and the methodology has leads to solutions. So it's all in a line. There's a linearity, there's a horizontality, or there's a verticality about it, which is bothersome, which is problematic. Okay, and which tends to backfire. It tends to backfire, right? Okay, now we have to completely think beyond this model. Because first of all, how do we go about identifying a problem? Can you say that you're not a part of the problem? That you are standing outside the problem? Okay, the research question that you have, the research question and the methodology, and is beyond the problem? No. The point is that pretty much this is a very integrated, intermeshed, intertwined kind of an arrangement, right? Where you find the social problem, the research question, methodology, and solutions all are deeply intertwined and interconnected in a very complex, in a very intricate fashion. But we don't realize that, right? We always think social problem is outside, is beyond us, is beyond us, is outside us. And we're going to come up with a solution that's going to destroy the problem. For instance, we're thinking of COVID-19. When you think of COVID-19, we think of it as a problem. We think of it as a problem that we ought to get rid of, right? Okay, but the point is that that's a problem. The persistence of the problem is what we get to realize, that the problem goes on continuously persisting in our life. You can never get rid of problem. So the point is that when the social science research methodology that we follow is always treat problems as something outside, as something which is beyond you, and a solution is going to get rid of the problem. But the solution that we have is a temporary solution. Very few people realize that, right? Okay, we look at social problem as a problem that we need to get rid of, get flushed out of our system. We need to bid goodbye to it. But there's a persistence of this problem which we do not realize, we do not get to see. And what we learn from this persistence of problem is that it opens up new fields of inquiry. It opens up new fields of inquiry. So there's a new way of looking at problem, and the kind of model that we are pursuing or we follow in researchers in social sciences is looking at problem as an alien, as an exteriority, as an outside, as an beyond, as something to be, something which happens, and we have to get rid of that. But that rarely happens, right? Okay. Now, see, if I ask you let me ask you a few basic fundamental questions. The first question that I want to ask you is, what do you understand by idea? What is an idea according to you? I was talking about problems. How do you view the idea? What is an idea? Anyone who can tell me what is an idea? You keep on using this word. This is not the first time you've heard this word. You use it all the time. Idea. What is an idea? Is idea different than problem? Tell me. Is idea different than problem? Right? Okay. Let me write down the word idea. What is an idea? I talked about problems. I talked about the problem with the social sciences is that it treats problem as an external phenomena, as an outside, as something to be, something that we want to get rid of. We look at COVID-19 as a big problem, as a huge problem. So what is an idea? An idea is nothing but a problem field that many of us don't realize. Is there anything called concrete? Is there anything called, we look at idea as an object. As an object. We look at an idea as an object, right? Something that we can master, something that we can we had an idea, so we can put it in our pocket, all right? We can, just say, so we can go to a departmental store and buy ideas, right? Okay. I would say that in the era of neoliberal capitalism that we just have to go to a departmental store and pick up a few ideas, right? Okay. Is that what idea is all about? Idea is like an object? I don't think so. But I'd be very happy if you could make this as an interactive, and I could get to see some of you, and I get to talk to some of you. Unfortunately, I can't get to see you. I can't get to see anyone. I can get to see a few interesting pictures. I can get to see a few interesting photographs, but I'm not able to see any one of you. Physical. There's no physical presence. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There's somebody here. Right. Good. What is an idea? Now, let me start with this basic. This is a fundamental question that you got to answer. What is an idea? How do you visualize or view an idea? See, idea is necessary everywhere. Idea is necessary as an integral component of research that we do. And we all start with an idea. Idea is the starting point, the origin, that you had an idea. So how do you see an idea? How do you view an idea? You see it as an object, in terms of an object, okay, in terms of totality. What do you see? When I say idea, what do you mean by idea? Idea is a problem field. Do you have an idea? Do you have a complete idea? You get idea in fragments, in small pieces. Okay, you don't get an idea in totality, something to be consumed, something to be pocketed. So idea is something, like a problem field. It's a vibrating, it's a pulsating, it's expanding, self-differentiating, becoming heterogeneity. Right? So when I talk about idea, I'm not talking about idea in terms of totality. I'm not talking about idea as something that we can possess, something that we can consume, something that we can sort of get rid of. And, so the point is that idea is a problem field. So problems, even like the COVID-19 happens to be a problem. But a problem, what a problem does is to open up multiple worlds, multiple fields of inquiry, right? Okay, and that is what basically idea is. So COVID-19 strikes us like an idea, okay? Because it is enabling multiple fields of inquiry, right? Okay, so that is it. Now, idea and a concept. What is a concept? Now, all these terminologies and all these notions that we have, the entire social science research is based on these notions and these concepts. They have to be revolutionized now. They have to be transformed, right? Okay, unless you start thinking about idea in a different way, unless you start thinking about concepts in a different way, unless you realize that the terminologies, the metaphors, the notions and the concepts that you get to use in social science research is no longer operative, you would not be able to do a breakthrough research. Okay, you will not be able to attempt what we call the creative violence. You need to master all these, new concepts, new terminologies that are being talked about nowadays, and how, the old terminologies and the old metaphors and the old notions have become redundant. What is a concept? Now, let me ask you, what is a concept? What is a concept? I talked about idea as a problem field, right? Okay, as a vibrating, you can note down if you like, it's a vibrating, it's a pulsating, it's expanding, self-differentiating, becoming. It constantly keeps on sort of, transforming, changing, and sort of, and it's not an object, it's not a concrete object. Idea is not a concrete object. Idea is a mobile, dynamic, expands, goes on expanding, okay, and it goes on self-differentiating, right? Like the virus, there's a kind of you should have a virological understanding of this. As a virus which constantly multiplies, an idea also constantly multiplies, and while multiplying, what is it doing? It is self-differentiating, differentiating from itself, it is disjuncting from itself, right? Okay, so there's a constant sort of a evolution of an idea, but that's not a linear evolution. Constantly goes expanding, multiplying, self-differentiating. So that's an idea. So what is a concept? What is a concept? What is the relation of concept to an idea? Ideas are actualized as concepts. The ideas get actualized as concepts, right? Now, when you actualize a problem field, what happens? When you actualize a vibrating, pulsating, expands, what happens? what happens? Concept, you actualize the idea as a concept. But after you have actualized the idea as a concept, what happens to that concept? You don't arrive at a stable concept. You arrive at a concept which is equally fragile. Because you are a vibrating, pulsating, expanding, self-differentiating mobility has got actualized. So what happens? The concept that where it is the surface of actualization of a problem, of an idea, what happens? That surface is mobile and dynamic too. So what you come up with is a concept which is equally fragile, equally dynamic, right? Okay, and equally vulnerable to change, right? No, you can't, look at concepts like as a fascist structure, as a monolith, as something encyclopedic or as monolithic, right? Okay, that we have a concept and the concept cannot be shaken or cannot be, problematized. The concepts can be problematized because basically it becomes the surface of actualization of an idea which is vibrating, pulsating, okay, expanding. So, if you have the surface of actualization of a moving, dynamic expands. So what happens in the process? You arrive at a concept which becomes equally mobile, equally dynamic, equally vulnerable to change, right? So all these concepts and ideas that you have, okay, are mobile and dynamic. Okay, they're not static. They're not static. Some people can get away by saying, no, they have some sort of a static dynamism. No, but they constantly keep on expanding. You can never destroy an idea. An idea will persist. Like the problem goes on persisting, an idea also goes on persisting. Because ideas are nothing, but basically they happen to be problems. Problems which open up multiple fields of inquiry. So this is basically what ideas are. And we have to have this master or understand. We cannot never master the mobile dynamic expands, but we can have an understanding. We can have a realization of this new terminologies and new take on ideas and concepts in order to attempt a revolutionary kind of research. Right? Okay. Now, there's a term called plasticity that you need to be familiar with. Plasticity. Concepts are basically plastic. Plasticity. Plasticity is what does it talk about? A constant sort of a suppleness. There's a kind of a suppleness. Why do you think concepts are so supple? Concepts are not rigid. Concepts are supple. You tinker with a concept. You toy with a concept. Okay. And you can transform a concept. You engage with a concept and you transform it. The very transformability of a concept. What does it say about a concept? Okay. So a concept is basically what? It's an expanse. Okay. It's an expanse like an idea. That with entailing notions of plasticity and fragility, like self. And we come to another word, self. What do you think about self? We started with idea, then we went to concepts. Now we have to go to self. What is self? Self is also, you can never, detach self from the assembly of objects. Can you say that myself is, I can finally dismiss myself from the outside world, from the beyond? They are all complexly intertwined. Yourself is also complexly intertwined with the beyond, with the objects, with the assembly of objects, right? Okay. But all of this thing that we can have a clustered, secluded notion of self, a self that can be derived, that can be deducted. And we have a reductive approach to say that this is self. Finally, all of us have this, this neoliberal way of looking at self as a commodity, We look at ideas as commodity, we look at concepts as commodity, we look at self as commodity. Okay, something that we can buy and purchase, something we can, possess, something we can consume, okay, something we can conquer, contain, colonize, capitalize. So these are the things that, we think of self also in those terms. Okay, the way we think about ideas and concepts and self from a neoliberal perspective. This is a way of looking at self and concepts and ideas from neoliberal perspective. And we have to effect a rupture with the neoliberal understanding of self, ideas, concepts, in order to attempt a revolutionary research. Right. Now, the point is that what does research entails basically? There are three things, according to me, which research entails, and that is universally true. That's universally true. The first thing that research entails is thinking, then writing, writing, and finally engaging. Okay, I mean, I'm talking about research in liberal arts. Okay, I'm not talking about the social science methodology, but these are the three components that can be teased out while talking about research: thinking, writing, and engaging. Right. So, what is thinking? I have introduced idea. I've talked a bit about idea. I've talked a bit about concepts. Talked a bit about self. Now, what are you thinking? Now, what the neoliberal times has compelled us to do a dogmatic thinking. What is a dogmatic thinking? Dogmatic thinking. That's a very interesting terminology. You can master it. Dogmatic thinking. What is dogmatic thinking? Dogmatic thinking also reduces thinking to an object. Okay. I think the object has, this thinking looks like a human being, like an organism, It's called organistic thinking. Dogmatic thinking is basically organistic thinking. So what does dogmatic thinking do? Dogmatic thinking, what we think that thinking is driven by a goal, by an objective, right? By goodwill, by common sense, right? Okay. So thinking that's the ontology, or that's the being of thinking. That thinking is, and that's called dogmatic thinking. That we look at thinking like an object, right? With different components, driven by a goal, okay, driven by goodwill and common sense. So thinking is always tethered or anchored to these notions, right? Okay, goodwill, common sense, and a goal. A goodwill, common sense, and a goal. They are highly problematic terms. So I would say that dogmatic thinking is tied to three highly problematic, highly contested, highly disputed, terms like goodwill. Is there a goodwill? Is there anything called goodwill? There's nothing called goodwill. You only get to sort of sense different forces at different points of time, or different intensities, or different sentiments at different points of time. There's nothing called goodwill. There's no structurality of a goodwill or common sense, right? Okay. So this dogmatic thinking always, says that we have to think in a particular fashion. We have to think in a particular direction in order to arrive at our objective. Whenever there's a solution, thinking starts. So we always think that whenever thinking terms, there's a solution, okay, there's a problem, and we want to achieve the solution, we want to arrive at the solution, then the thinking will start. So we always have the solution-oriented thinking, objective-oriented thinking. And thinking is always driven by goodwill and common sense. But thinking is not driven by goodwill and common sense. Okay? So this is it. Thinking is not driven by goodwill and common sense. And there's a difference between what this dogmatic thinking leads to finally is, what we call mimesis. What we call mimesis, representation, right? We always feel that by thinking in such a way, by doing this exercise, carrying out an exercise in dogmatic thinking, what we're going to arrive at is a representation of a problem representation of the world. This is dogmatic thinking is basically representationalist, right? Okay. Now, now the question is, why is it impossible to capture or represent an experience? You had an experience, right? Okay. And you want to represent it. You want to capture it. Why it is so difficult to always, impossible nearly to capture or represent an experience? Tell me. I mean, why is it so impossible to sort of capture an experience? You had an experience. Why is it so difficult to capture an experience? All of us have tried to capture, contain an experience, represent an experience. Why is it so difficult? Is there an outside experience? Is there something called outside? Outside the experience, beyond experience. There's no outside the experience. You always, while having this experience, you're always caught in the experience. You're always caught in the folds or patterns of experience. There's no point outside the experience. You're always caught in the experience. So the point is, how can you represent an experience? It's like, separating the dancer from a dance. Can you think of separating the dancer from a dance? The dancer is the dance. The dancer is the dance. So that's the point. So you can never represent an experience because, you are never situated outside experience, right? Okay. So we talked about ideas, we talked about concepts, and we talked about, mimesis. Mimesis becomes a very dominant feature of the research that we do in social sciences. But mimesis has been questioned, has been challenged, okay, and has been, thrust out of the research that we do in social sciences because mimetical representational registers have no longer worked. It's basically because it's impossible to work with categories of representations because you can never represent. Okay, if you're asked to capture or remember or sort of represent your childhood memory, your childhood incident, can you? What do you do? What do you do? Suppose you're asked to sort of capture or sort of represent a childhood experience. So what happens? Right. Is there anything called this the masterly eye, the masterly gaze? So that's commanding. That's kind of commanding, that can register, that can finally register in the absolute sense. You can hardly register. There's no masterly eye, the masterly gaze, a detached.
Excuse me, sir. Your attention, please, sir.
Hello, sir.
We have unmuted all the participants. We have unmuted all the participants so that you can respond to Professor Saswat, because I understand in chat box you are giving so many comments. You want to interact. Sir will be very happy. But please, no noise, please.
అన్నిటికీ ఎస్కెళ్ళిపోయాను అంటే చాయిస్ లో వాడు వదలకుండా ఏవో రాశాడు సినిమాలో నమ్మడు ఎందుకు ఒక్కొక్క
We'll have to unmute. We have unmuted all, but we have to mute again if there will be noise. Sir, please continue. Thank you, sir.
So much noise is coming from the backgrounds. Quiet, I will mute everybody.
Please mute, but see that sir is unmuted. In the process, you don't mute him.
డిసెప్టివ్ గా ఎక్కువగా రాశాడు ఇంగ్లీష్ లో స్లాంగ్ బాగా రాశాడు ఇంటికి వెనకొచ్చి ఒక క్వశ్చన్ చదివిందని సినిమాలు
గుడ్ మార్నింగ్ సార్
Yes, please, sir.
Please mute all.
చేశారు ఇంకా
Except Saswat sir, mute all.
ఎంత గొడవలు అవుతాయి అసలు చదువుకుంటూ వెళ్తాడు అన్ని సినిమాలు కథలు అసహ్యంగా రాసుకుంటూ వెళ్ళాడు అనమాట బ్యూటిఫుల్ హ్యాండ్ రైటింగ్ అంటే అలా బాగుంది అనుకుని వెళ్ళిపోయాను అంటే ఎంత బుద్ధిహీనంగా మోసపోతున్నాను అప్పుడు తెలుసు నీకు
నేను వెళ్తున్నా అని అడుగుతున్నాను అడిగినంటే చెప్పు చూడలేదా వేయలేదంటే నేను చూడలేదు ఇలాగా నేను ఓవర్ ఆడియో ఆన్ ఉంది
Samya sir, please unmute Gigabyte. That is the resource person. Samya sir, please unmute our presenter. You can unmute rest of them. You can unmute them, rest of them.
Yeah, so can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that's exactly what I was talking about in terms of, this masterly eye, or the detached eye, that kind of records and that registers everything. So do we have a detached masterly eye? We don't have a detached masterly eye. We're very much caught in the experience that is unfolding, very much part of the event which we are trying to record. And when we are part of that event that we're trying to record, we just can't get an outside. We just can't get an outside view. We can't get a vantage point. We can't get a vantage point to which we can record the entire, register the entire event or the experience that we are a part of. Right? Okay. And that is the reason the mimetical registers, the registers of representation doesn't work. So we can never end up representing anything. Okay. Because we don't have that masterly, that detached gaze. Okay, we don't have that, advantage of the panopticon, the standing, we are having that experience, we're part of the event. So only thing that we can do is to be loyal to that event. Let's see where the event takes us. Let's see where the experience takes us. But we can never represent the experience in the true sense of the term. Yeah, there's a difference between, attempting to be true and appearing to be true. Okay, while representing, we are attempting to be true, or there's a difference between attempting to be true and appearing to be true. What is the difference? The basic dichotomy is that when you appear to be true, you can always create a sense of a real experience. You can create, but that will be a creative endeavor. You don't really go on representing the event that happened. You are a part of that event. You're part of an experience. You cannot represent it in the true sense of the term. You can always create an aura of real experience. You can always create. So every time you try to capture, try to contain, or try to represent an experience, that becomes a creative exercise, right? Okay, so, and appearing to be true, you can always appear to be true, but still, you can never be true. So the only way you can succeed in your research in social sciences is to completely dismantle this mimetic approach, representationalist thinking, that you can represent, you can capture an event, or you can capture, a experience, right? Okay. Yeah. Now the point is that what is the true experience? We go to the question: what is the true? What constitutes the true experience? What is a true experience? When you try to sort of say that this experience is true, you have already a preconceived understanding of what is true. Don't you think so? All your social science research falls flat because you have this preconceived notion of truth. You already know what is true. What ought to be the solution? You know. So you're not really engaging with the problem. You're not. You're thinking in terms of, the preconceived idea of a solution. You have a preconceived notion of reality, preconceived notion of truth. And you would like your solution or whatever you come up with to correspond to that, right? So when you try to capture the experience, you think this is called true experience. This is the true way of capturing the experience. You already have a definition. You already have an understanding of what is true. And you would like the entire experience to follow that. But that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. Because what is happening? You are not caught in a linear time. No, you're not caught in a linear time. You're not caught in a linearity. No, the event is happening. When you start thinking about the event has also moved. The event is also equally dynamic. As I talked about problem in the past, the problem is dynamic and mobile. It expands. It's expanding, constant expanding. So at the same time, the same happens with the experience of the event. You're caught in an event, you're caught in a circumstance, and after that, the event or the experience also persists with you. It also lingers with you. It's also expanding with you. It's also unfolding with you. It's also becoming something with you. Like yourself is getting transformed. That event and that experience that you were a part of is also getting transformed and revolutionized. Right? Okay. So this is exactly what happens. So you can never have a detached gaze. That, okay, this is. And when you think in terms of true experience, you already have a definition of what is truth. What is truth? This is called true. So you have a preconceived idea, and you'd like the entire experience to fall into that. Right? Okay. So this is not going to work. So this has the mimetical resistor has completely washed out and completely collapsed. And what we do that we set up a difference between these two terms, actual and virtual. Actual and virtual. We think that there's a dichotomy, there's a boundary. There's a boundary that divides the actual from the virtual. Is there a boundary? The boundary that we set up between the actual and the virtual is imaginary. Is a hypothetical boundary. It's imaginary boundary. Okay, but there's no boundary between the actual and the virtual. Right? The problem is what? Problem is basically virtual. Okay, problem is not actual. Problem is virtual. Why? Because you can never grasp a problem fully in the absolute sense. You can never make sense of it. Right? Okay, so you come up with temporary solutions, not permanent solutions. Has the mankind ever come up with any permanent solution? It has never come up with any permanent solution because there's always a persistence of a problem. The problem goes on expanding. Okay, all right. So you never get to have permanent solutions, right? Why? Because this is basically because of a virtuality of a problem. The problem is not an actuality, okay, that you can solve. If an actuality, then what you can do? You can dismantle it. You can destroy it. It will not persist. It will not expand. Do you see the expansion of a problem? You don't get to see the expansion of a problem, but it expands. It becomes a part of your life, right? Okay, you find out new multiple ways of dealing with it. One problem would enable multiple solutions, right? Okay, so that is it. So problem is basically what? Problem is basically a virtuality. It's not an actual, right? So what we do is set up a dichotomy between the actual and the virtual. We always think problems are like, the actual, they're meant to be solved, they're meant to be done away with, and we have got nothing to do with it. We've got a solution to the problem. For instance, let me ask you a very interesting question about COVID-19. COVID-19, do you see it as a problem field? You see it as a problem to be completely eradicated. So you are thinking in terms of vaccines, right? You come up with a vaccine and the vaccine is going to find you a permanent cure of COVID-19. But is there a permanent cure of COVID-19? I don't think there's a permanent cure of COVID-19. COVID-19 will persist in your life as a problem. It has opened up multiple fields of inquiry, right? It has enabled knowledge to move, enabled you to you be constantly transforming yourself, repositioning yourself in relation to COVID-19. The COVID-19 is going to persist in your life. Even if you find a drug or find a vaccine to cure it, right? Okay, because part of the problem, if you look at COVID-19 as a problem, you're not able to see it as a virtual problem. You're seeing it as an actual problem, an empirical, so you have an empirical solution to an actual problem. But that doesn't work. You have to realize that problems are basically virtual. The virtual, right? You can never, have full command over a problem, right? Okay. So there's an interconnectedness between the actual and the virtual, all right? Within every actual solution, the virtual is going to persist. The virtual problem is going to persist in every actual solution. And it expands the actual. It's open up the actual. All right. Okay. It's going to make the actual that you have come up with, that solution that you have arrived at, is going to actively open it up. Okay. Okay. And it will constantly keep it in the process of becoming something. Right. So you can never get rid of, this so-called a problem by coming up with some sort of an empirical, some sort of an actual solution to it. The basic problem lies in setting up a dichotomy between the actual and the virtual. But there's no dichotomy. We have to realize that the virtual and the actual are interconnected, are intertwined, are intermessed, are affecting each other. right? Affecting, and the virtual constantly keeps on affecting. A virtual is going to make many actualities possible. Multiple actualities are possible because of virtual. Virtual itself, is a multiplicity. It's a problem in expanse, continuing expanding, multiplying, constantly, self-differentiating. So the solutions that it is going to enable are also going to be equally multiple, equally diverse, equally plural, equally heterogeneous, equally versatile. Okay, all right. So it's that's why when we think of solutions, we think in terms of assemblages. Assemblages. What is assemblage? What is an assemblage? Assemblage itself is a multiplicity. Okay, we have multiple, solutions to one problem. When problem is never singular, problem is also plural. Okay, you always look at problem as singular. This is a single problem. This is a single problem that we are going to deal with. But problem is inherently plural. It's plural, right? Okay, so we come up with an assemblage. Assemblage is made of multiplicity. Many multiple options are there. Many, we have this. We get a bit of this, and get a bit of that, and we manufacture. We get to manufacture some sort of an assemblage to sort of to tackle or to engage with a virtual multiplicity. That's the problem, right? Okay, so the dichotomy between actual and the virtual has to go. We don't have to see problems as basically, as an actual empirical entity, like the way, I was listening to the lectures of some professors in the past. So they were talking about language as some sort of an actuality, they were talking about in empirical terms about sort of, mastering the language or commanding the language. But language you can never command and never master, because language also happens to be a kind of a problem that goes on persisting, goes on expanding. Language itself is plural. Language itself is multiple. Language itself is so versatile. Language itself is so diverse. So when you're dealing with a multiplicitous diversity, then you can't think in terms of empirical solution to it. That don't use he, but use she. Don't use that or don't use this. No, this empirical solutions are not going to really get rid of the problem. No. So now what we do, there's a very interesting anecdote that I remember. So when you use the language, you become very self-conscious. Okay, you become very self-conscious that you don't know how to really use the language. You are a foreign speaker, right? Okay, you are not a native speaker of English, right? Okay, you're a foreign speaker. And you feel that I don't know how to say it. How do I sort of make a sentence? How do I sort of I have to make a speech somewhere. I have to talk to. Let's say that you have to you call to US or call to London, and you get an invitation from London or US, and you have to deliver a talk to an audience. So you don't know how to go about it. You don't know how to open up and start talking to somebody who happens to be from America or from London. Right. Okay. You always have the self-consciousness. You always feel that, no, I can't say things. I think that whatever I'm going to say, it may backfire, may boomerang, I may be misunderstood. But those misunderstandings are potential misunderstandings. You must realize that. So, what you do is not to represent what we call the dominant use of language, not to replicate or represent the dominant use of language. The institutional dominant use of language is what? Institutional canonical dominant way of using English language is, you like to, for instance, you may say that speaking like a Brit or speaking like an American is, representing or replicating the American way or the British way of speaking, or, so I have to speak like them. No, you can make a minor use of language. If you make a minor use of language, you'll see what kind of a revolutionary change you bring in social sciences. What is this minor use of language? Minor use of language is not a representative, mimetical use of language. It's distinct, it's different. What is minor use of language? Because you don't happen to be a Brit. You don't happen to be an American. You were living in India, and you have to, you have to speak. Let's say that you have to write in English. The minor use of language would be that you make the entire language stammer and stutter, falter, stammer and stutter. Okay, your success lies there in making new combinations, new relations possible in language, in transforming the language the way you want to, right? And that's what is happening. That is what we understand by post-colonial use of English. You're completely transforming the language. Okay, by you're indigenizing it or nativizing it. How do you nativize it? How do you indigenize it? You make a minor use of language. You don't use the majoritarian, institutional, canonical use of language, but you make what? You make a minor use of language. Minor use of language is always aimed at stammering it, stuttering it, right? Faltering. Okay, but when the entire attention will be drawn to language, okay, we're drawn to language, not at what it represents, but at language. When your attention is drawn to language, then new combination, new relations are going to be possible. Okay, so when you stammer and stutter in making use of a language, don't feel bad or don't feel depressed. You're making the entire language stammer and stutter, and in the process, you end up inventing a new language. I'm not saying that you have to be grammatically incorrect, no, but you should have the liberty of using the language the way you feel. The language is basically malleable. It's like a problem. It's like an expanse. It's like a multiplicity, right? Okay, so you kind of you kind of toy with it, you tinker with it, and you make a minor use of language, a revolutionary use of language. Language will not be used. I mean, if you say that I'm going to speak the way Brits speak or the Americans speak, you're going to fail. Why fail like that? Why fail in carrying out an exercise in minor cis? No, you should fail, and you should not fail at all. And make a minor use of language. Make the language stammer and stuff. Let the language speak. Now, this is called another term which you have to be familiar with, which is this is the last one, vice diction. So instead of you carry out an exercise which is called vice diction, or you note down vice diction or counter actualization, which is realizing, in fact, that that in actual conditions there is a virtual component that needs to be attended to. Okay, and actuality is a product of virtual multiplicity. When you realize that, then what you do, engage with the virtual multiplicity, and you make many solutions possible. How does that happen? For instance, you have been asked to capture Bombay. Let's say that you have participated in a war. You have fought the Kargil war, and you come back safe and sound from Kargil war, and you have been asked to write something about the Kargil war. So what are you going to do? You're not going to use the representative lens, because that has happened. You have been a part of the experience. Okay, so there's no detached I. Okay, when you're part of that experience, unfolding experience, you're caught in that experience. You are a dancer caught in the dance. So you don't have a detached I to kind of take a look at the experience, right? Okay, so how do you choose to talk about it? How do you choose to talk about the Kargil war, right? You don't use the representative or mathematical lens. You look at it as a virtual multiplicity. Why there's so much of emphasis in your writing on context, on contingencies and context. You always keep on talking about the context and the contingencies. We talk about context and contingencies in social science research in our writings because we cannot represent really what happened. What happened, no one knows. Something happened. That something which happened can be represented in multiple ways. You can go on talking about it without capturing what happened. What really happened? Nobody knows what really transpired or what really happened. So what we do, we look into the context, the contingencies, the positionalities. Why? We look at all this because we feel that, okay, that is the best way of, virtualizing the actual, realizing that the actual is part of the virtual and it's a manifestation of the virtual. So you go into the virtual, not into the actual. Okay, the virtual multiplicity which has in fact given you that, that problem or that event The event cannot be seen in empirical terms. Okay, that this is like an object, this is like an actuality. No, there's a virtual component of it. There's a virtual component of it, and if we go into the virtual side of the actual problem, then we then we end up producing something new. In the mimetic research or a representational research, what happens? We don't end up producing anything new. So what is the way you can produce something new? You can only produce something new when you do away with the mimetical representative lenses and you engage with a problem as a virtual multiplicity, as a product of, as a manifestation of virtual multiplicity. So you don't look at the actual event as from an empirical lens, but you see it as evolving as a multiplicity. So you engaging with a problem becomes the source of the production of the new. So you must learn how to love problems, how to live with problems, how to identify and engage with the problem, and how to transform it. You have to find a position within the problem to transform it. You cannot find a position outside the problem. You cannot find a location outside, the experience to capture it. So you have to be pretty much within the experience, and you can transform it from within. So that's called changing it from within, right? So there's a distinction between immanence and transcendence. Immanence is immanence. It's immanence and transcendence. Transcendence is always finding an external vantage point, always thinking in terms of an outside, the outside experience, outside the problem. Outside the problem lies the solution. Outside the experience lies the representative mimetical lenses, the macroscope. No, but you don't have a position outside the experience. You are within the experience, and we're going to bring about the transformation by living within the experience, by engaging with the experience, by transforming that very experience. Right, okay, so I think I have already spoken quite a lot. So I come to the end of my lecture, right? I hope that I have given you some insights into how to do social science research. Social science research is governed by terminologies, by concepts which have become absolutely, they are redundant. Not only redundant, they're unjust and unkind, and they are figments of integral to humanist tradition. But now the research that we are talking about, that we are doing in social sciences, are completely taken a turn. We're using different set of terminologies, different set of concepts, and different set of devices. And all those devices or all those terminologies I presented for you, right? The virtual and the actual, the multiplicity and the plurality, and all the new set of terminologies. And how do you acquire this new set of terminology? You acquire this new set of terminologies by reading more and more. And what do you read? You have to read critical theory, you have to read, philosophy, you have to read. It's going to be a very interdisciplinary, wide reading, right? Okay, you cannot only be hermeneutical. Hermeneutical leads to hermeticism. What is hermeticism? Dead ends. You go on hermeneutizing, go on interpreting. Why do you go on interpreting? You go on interpreting, go in circles. You go on interpreting because you'd like to find a point. You like to find the meaning, the underlying meaning of a text. Okay, but the underlying meaning can never be found. So the anthropological way has been replaced by the archaeological way. You have rhizome, like a rhizome, you have to spread. Okay, all right. Anyway, I think I have talked a lot. Thank you for giving me such a grand opportunity. I thank Professor Rajendra for giving me such a grand opportunity to talk to all of you. And it's a diverse crowd. Rajendra told me there are people from China, from Pakistan, so the entire global south is there. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity of talking to you. But I hope I made sense. Thank you.
Definitely, sir. Definitely. Thank you very much for your elaborate and very lively session, sir. You have in fact rocked the session. Thank you very much, sir. Now I just hand over to our Rajendra Das, sir, who is the convener of the program. Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Professor Das. I think you have given the food for thought for a long time to each, and even those who are not participants, even they will be inspired, because this kind of thought it will not stop. Ideas rule the world, and you are handling the ideas in such a cogent manner and presenting. We are really lucky to have you. You have really obliged us, obliged every participant, sir.
For giving me such a wonderful opportunity. I hope we meet again.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
And we don't meet online.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Definitely, sir.
I'm really getting fed up of this online.
Yeah, sir. By God's grace, this corona will go, and sir, we'll have the user classroom.
All right.
But you made it feel that they are in the classroom, sir. Because even though it is online, the limitations of the technology.
I tried my best to create that.
Yes, sir. But it has been done like that. Because
I gloriously failed.
No, sir. That you have disrupted the disruptive technology, sir, today. Hats off to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir, if possible, you please be till the program is over, if you can be there.
Yeah.
And, because you are the most distinguished guest.
Sir, can I give the feedback to sir?
Yeah. Feedback, yeah. It is as a participant you want to say, okay. Good, sir. Please go ahead. 1 minute to 2 minutes maximum.
Yeah. Sir, your presentation is quite very wonderful. I have got your voice is excellent, sir, and we have the native speaker's voice, and your lesson is also very interesting. At the same time, your dramatization is just like we are theater, sir, and that feel is, I think, we never get such kind of talk anywhere. It's really a wonderful talk, sir. We have no words to express. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Shekhar, sir, for your feedback. I understand your words are failing you to express your gratitude and your impression. Thank you. That is what Professor Sasudas is. And I don't want to embarrass him. I know that he doesn't like compliments, and therefore I am sparing this trouble. And Shekhar sir, please go ahead with the schedule as planned. And I request Professor Sasudas sir to be our most distinguished guest today and officiate over this. And our HOD, Professor R.L. Naidu, the chairman of the organizing committee is there also. And Dr. Iswarao Maji sir will be proposing the vote of thanks. But Shekhar sir, you will be guiding the program through till the conclusion.
Right, sir.
Please move ahead.
So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. After the successful completion of the 1-week online faculty development program on A to Z of writing and publication in Scopus Index Journal in a grand way, now it is time for the FDP valedictory function. To start with this session, first of all, I would like to request Professor R.L. Naidu, HOD BSNH, the chairman of the FDP, to deliver his presidential address.
Thank you, sir. Am I audible to you, sir?
Yes, sir. You are audible. Please, sir.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you. Respected Vice Principal, Dr. Raja Murugadas, and beloved Principal, Dr. C.L.V. R.S. Prasad, esteemed resource person of today's session, Dr. Saswat Samaidas, convener of this FDP, Dr. R.K. Das, and co-convener of this FDP, Dr. T. Simhachalam, and my dear participants, good afternoon. This is R.L. Naidu, and head the Department of Basic Science and Humanities. At present, every aspect of local and global education suffers from the crisis of COVID pandemic. It has influenced every aspect of life. I believe in coming times, this horrific crisis will result in huge change in the outlook of living life. We have to challenge our lifestyle for our survival. and also be ready to face the present and future perspective of COVID-19. I think this pandemic will have a positive impact on education and economy. However, at the same time, it will reshape education systems. I think most colleges and universities will change their strategy and adapt to innovate technologies, e-learnings. In the present day teaching process, online learning system was brought up in a very short period of time. It has given impetus to new formats of pedagogy. Tremendous initiatives have been taken by academicians and institutions to promote online education. The last few months, higher and technical education institutions have made significant efforts to keep pace with the situation arising out of the present crisis with flexibility. This COVID-19 making disaster over the entire world. On the other hand, it made the people closer through the existing technology. Most of the faculty members are benefited with these FDPs. During this COVID season, our college is conducting a series of FDPs and webinars. This is one among them. With these few words, I hope all the participants got benefited from the eminent resource persons. Since from day one onwards, I am observing each and every session, and I was amazed the way the resource persons have delivered the content in supporting the title of FDP A to Z of writing and publication on Scopus indexed journals. Also, I have gone through the comments in the chat box given by the parents, participants. I am congratulating convener Dr. R.K. Das and co-convener Dr. T. Simhachalam and his team for their tireless efforts in making this FTP a grand success. On behalf of Basic Science and Humanities, I thank all the resource persons for sparing their valuable time in making this FTP a grand success. So, I thank all the participants for doing this FTP. Thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Have a nice day. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much, sir, for your nice presidential address. Thank you very much, sir. Now I call upon Dr. Kumar Das, convener of the FDP, to address the gathering.
Thank you, sir. Esteemed Principal, Gmrit Institute of Technology, esteemed Vice Principal, Dr. Raja Murugadas, our Dean of Research, Professor Bharani Kumar, HOD and Organizing Committee Chairman, Professor R.L. Naidu, all the resource persons who are presented today, and our distinguished guest and a research person, Professor Saswat Somadas, all my learned colleagues of the organizing committee, all the respected heads of department, my co-convener, Dr. T. Simhachalam, and all my dear participants. It is really a great occasion that when we are going to wind up this session, that we have come to a situation to pay our gratitude to all our resource persons and above all the participants. I had guessed the kind of craze that people have to learn about publication. And we have made a very small attempt towards realizing this goal. But I can assure you all that just conducting an FDP is not sufficient. Hand holding must be there. And I commit to you that whenever you require our help, we will be there with you. And this is an eternal commitment till we are alive. And with these words, I will also thank our head of HR, Mr. Somikant Mishra, who gave me originally the idea of conducting such an FDP, which will help all the people, particularly our participants, our colleagues. And because we have made it YouTube link, millions of people will be watching this for over the years, and it is one of the kind of information, and it is possible because of the support of the participants. Overwhelming response, overwhelming feedback, and I have never got a single negative feedback so far. So what I can say, our humble attempt has been successful. This is not I am telling as the convener, but this is what I conclude, getting all the feedback from our participants. So I thank all the people involved, all the stakeholders whom I have acknowledged and whom I might have forgotten to acknowledge. And if there is any mistake anywhere, we will rectify next time. And my apologies for any kind of inconvenience. For example, today it's Vinayak Chaturthi. Many of you must be wanting to be busy with the puja and all, but in spite of that, you have participated in huge numbers. I bow down to you in gratitude and will be grateful to you forever, making it a historical FDP in all sense of the term. Thank you all. Thank you, Professor Nair.
Thank you very much, sir, for your wonderful words. May I request Dr. Simhachalam, co-convener FDP, to share your views.
Thank you very much for inviting me, sir, to have my views on our FDP. I have been observing beginning of our FDP and a wonderful response in terms of participation and registrations, and also all the participants, registered participants, have come into my contact in many ways, and we observe their, we felt their satisfaction towards our program from beginning to end. I have no more words to say about our program. It is a successful one, and I must thank our organization, GMR Institute of Technology, as well as our leader and HOD sir, BSNH, Lakshman Naik sir, as well as my supporter and convener of this program, RKD sir, and my learned colleagues and supporting people all the time, my own group members. And thank you very much each and everyone. And if at all we caused any inconvenience to in any manner, my apologies, sincere apologies to all. And I thank every participant, my heart of my heart, and made this program grand success. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir, for your wonderful views. Now I request Dr. M. Ishwar Rao to propose a vote of thanks to participants and all concerned.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon. Am I audible, sir?
Yeah.
Yes, sir, you are audible. Very good afternoon, sir. Welcome.
Yeah. Good afternoon, one and all, in the August online gathering. I, Dr. M. Ishwar Rao, deem it my duty and privilege to propose vote of thanks on behalf of Team English and Department of Basic Sciences and Humanities in this valedictory function of 1 week online faculty development program on A to G of writing and publication in Scopus indexed journals. First and foremost, I offer my sincere thanks to our management of GMR Institute of Technology, Honorable Principal Dr. CLV RSV Prasad, and Vice Principal Dr. J. Raja Murugadas, and Dean of Research, Dr. Bharani Chandra Kumar, for their initiation, inspiration, and continuous support and blessings in organizing this FDP. I thank all the HODs, especially Dr. R.L. Naidu, HOD of Basic Sciences and Humanities, chairman of this FDP, for leading our team all the time in all aspects in conducting the FDP. It is my prime duty to thank all the participants who have registered and took part in all sessions with a lot of patience and interest and made this program really a grand success. My profuse thanks are also due to the resource persons we invited across the country, namely, firstly, Dr. Rabindra Kumar Pradhan, IIT Kharagpur, former DRDO scientist, and Dr. D.N. Sansanwal, former head professor, and Devi Ahalya Vishwavidyalaya, and inventor of jerk technology. And today's resource person, Dr. Shashwat Samay Das from IIT Kharagpur, and the internal resource persons, Dr. Rajendra Kumar Dash and Dr. T. Simhachalam and Dr. Aditya Kumar Sahu. All the three are from GMRIT. Once again, I thank all these renowned resource persons for their expertise and delivery of their insights in the FDP to benefit everyone. I thank the convener, Dr. R.K. Dash, and co-convener, Dr. T. Simhachalam, for conceptualizing, materializing, and realizing such a wonderful FDP and made it really a success. I thank all the members of organizing committee who rendered their services in direct and indirect ways for the success of this FDP. My special thanks to Mr. Saumyakanta Mishra, HR head, and IT cell personnel, Mr. Hari and Ranjit, for providing Zoom platform and also arranging YouTube live streaming. I thank all the supporting staff who worked to continue. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
I have just one announcement. I know our participants must have missed Dr. B.K. Sahu. Actually, Dr. B.K. Sahu went a major problem that his daughter's eye operation was going on and emergency surgery was there. Now she has been discharged. I know that this is not the forum to speak this personal thing, but I have no way because you will be keeping wondering what happened. But Dr. B.K. Sahu, he has assured me that he will be conducting one FDP. He will be sponsoring one FDP. That means it will be free of cost for all. And this one will be organizing and all of you will be invited. You can participate at your will. So this one I wanted to communicate to you. Another thing, whenever we are going to organize any other workshop or FDP, you will be the first people to receive our invitation. And the materials we are preparing and we will be sending you in a day or two. And a certificate also, you will be getting message in your email to how to download your certificate. Everything will be there. You can ping us, you can email us, and you can always be in communication with us whenever you have any difficulty in terms of receiving your certificate, etc. Besides, any kind of help in the research, it will be free and fair and very transparent manner. You can expect from us. Gmrit would love to guide any researcher in their work. This is the commitment on behalf of Gmrit and my department that I am making to you on behalf of the organizing committee. Thank you all. I request our head of the department, Professor R.L. Naidu. Actually, you may be wondering why we are not going for the feedback from participants. Actually, we have collected all your feedbacks, and because of lack of time, constraint of time, we are not going to bother you. But if anyone can't resist their temptation to share something, maximum 1 minute we can give to 2 people. If anyone is interested, Sivachalam sir, please have a look at them. If anybody, please unmute yourself and you can speak.
Welcome some of you oral feedback from audience. I think it is with Samya sir to unmute the participants. Sir.
So it's okay. We have got your feedback actually, so we did not linger this. Let us request our organizing committee chairman, head of the department, Professor R.L. Naidu, to declare the FDP as concluding and successful one and close the sessions.
Okay,
over
thank
to
you, sir.
Professor Naidu.
Thank you, sir. Dear participants and my dear colleagues, with this grand success, I am declaring that we are concluding and closing this faculty development program. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for all your support throughout.
It's
I personally
a pleasure,
indebted
sir.
you.
Pleasure.
Personally, I am indebted to you, sir, and for this, all the things so smooth, and you gave us all the kind of support. I can't express in words, sir. Thank you, sir.
I am congratulating you, sir.
Thank you, sir, dear participants.
Really.
We are signing off.
Sir. Thank you very much.
And
Welcome, sir. Sivachalam Garu and your team.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
so much,
Have
sir.
a
For such
great
a
day,
great
sir.
work.